had a chance to do it. But then Muhammad Ali Mahar's presentation showed us that that was not going to be the case. They did not get really a share of the new nation or prosperity, so that's why the dream went south. Now this we see a global threat today. If you kind of zoom back and you look at the continents, you look at the regions, and you look at the globe, you will see that in the last 20 years, the rich has gotten richer, the poor has gotten poorer. Although the poverty gap between the nations has decreased. We have new power players. We have Brazil, we have India, we've got entire BRIC nations, the whole regional alliance. And you look at the members of those regions and that alliance, Malaysia, Singapore. Singapore has the highest GDP than any other country in the world, even more than Europe, more than Germany and USA. So there has been a shrinking gap between the nations, but the gap within each nation has increased, the poverty gap. And that is a ticking bomb, my friends. But a lot of scientists, a very overwhelming number of social scientists and economists, they have come to a conclusion that the poverty is not correlated with the terrorism. There is no correlation. Because if you look at the 9/11, if you look at all those folks who are really leading this campaign, none of them is really starving. They are well-to-do people. They came from, 15 out of 19 came from Saudi Arabia, and remaining came from Egypt and Lebanon. Well-to-do families, from prince's family, a lot of money, a lot of privileges, but yet they are involved in this global terrorism. We have lots of population in Europe, from Holland, from Germany, because they had open border for a long, long time, so there have been lots of immigrants. Children who were born there are turning against their own countries, their own nations, for which they have passports. The internet that we all cherish, that we say is the era of globalization, but it has some price that we have to pay. And that is, my observation is, and in my study, globalization and an instant contact between individuals and communities has actually reduced the phenomenon of adaptation to the new cultures and new lands. It has slowed down the process of melting into that pot. It has created inhibitions because although at a great distance, yet the similar cultures and groups can stay united, could stay cohesive, could coordinate their actions, could coordinate their reactions without any constraint of the distance, because internet is an enabler. Again, going back to the partition lessons, we believe, and I personally believe, that it is not the economic drivers which are driving this extremism and violent extremism. It is actually the dominance, the feeling of dominance. Over the years and decades, people have learned their individual dignity, and they love it. When they see abuse of power, whether it is by the local governments or international organizations or superpowers, they definitely resent that, because they question what makes them more qualified than us. So the lessons to be learned are as follows. What are these solutions? Where do we go from here? We know that the poverty is not the driving force. We know that if poverty was the driving force, many African countries, and I'll be very happy to share some of the things with you. For example, from the GDP perspective, Nigeria has higher GDP than a lot of countries, because of oil-rich country. And China has almost the lowest GDP. Because of the population, only few people are rich in China. But there is no terrorism in China that we know. There is some, but it is being curbed. But Nigeria is up on the top. And Chad, Zambia, Haiti, Ghana, Angola, Tajikistan, Belize, Philippines, Indonesia, India, all of these countries, as I give their names, they have the lowest instances of terrorism, and they have lowest instances of GDP. So that tells us that it's not connected. So what we have to do is we have to find solution at the ideological level. I think it's the ideology. It is that feeling of dominance, that you're being dominated, you are being directed by someone, that somebody is determining your fate, and somebody has a total control over your life. That feeling has to go. And I think international societies, I think international organizations, the institutions, that includes United Nations, that includes many other regional alliances, and that also includes the diaspora and the local communities. I think there has to be a dialogue, an open dialogue, no matter how sharp that is. There has to be an open dialogue between the communities. For example, the Sindhi diaspora, the Pakistani diaspora, the Arab diaspora, or all the Muslim diaspora, and the local people, they have to sit together right here in USA. Government doesn't have to dictate it. Government can facilitate it, but they get out of the way. And let's have open dialogue. Let's talk about various issues, what's bothering us. And same is supposed to be happening, should be happening across the world. Because unless we don't go and talk to each other heart and heart, I'm telling you, we may shout at each other on the phones, and we may do the same thing on the internet, but when we get together and we hug each other, a lot of anger is out of the window. So the personal touch has really nothing has replaced the personal touch. So we really need to focus on that one. As far as the Pakistan is concerned, I think we don't talk about it anymore. And I have this bone to pick with lots of intellectuals and lots of journalists. You cannot baptize a state. That's not happening. That should not happen. You cannot baptize a state. You cannot call a state a Jewish state or Islamic state. We have to separate. We have to separate the state and the religion. Every person has a right to practice his or her own religion, regardless what it is. Because when problem starts when I tell you that my religion is the best, and you know what, yours doesn't worth a dime. Now that's where the problem starts. So I think we have to start talking. If we don't talk, it's never going to happen. There's no guarantee that our talk is going to make it happen, but at least that's the first step. The second thing is, I think we should revisit the curriculum. It is one of the most hateful curriculum in Pakistan. And what some of us who have been part of the administration and part of the education and everything else, we know that that is not right. When you teach in a curriculum, for example, Sindhi mein, Hindus have small places, they live in small places, their homes are dark, they are filthy, they don't wash themselves. I mean, I can actually quote you so many instances from the books that they teach. These are all books authorized by the board. I mean, we're not talking about the madrasas at all. This is ridiculous. We have to, if we don't raise our voice, we're actually fooling ourselves. Because you can't turn around and complain in this country and say the churches are telling us to convert to Christianity. If we're going to force our people to convert into Islam, then we cannot complain if somebody comes and says, hey, you're living in God's country, you got to convert into Christianity. So I think that has to, thank you, 5 minutes. Gender equality. I even hear women talking about gender equality.